This episode of Scav Talk is brought to you by Lethal Gaming Gear. And welcome back to Scav Talk, everyone. Today's episode, I'm discussing the Epic Games store release for Tarkov Arena, followed by in-game Scav survey results that finally come in. Then we got a new community tool for bug tracking that we'll talk about, followed by meme or meta HK416, and then lastly we'll close with some hardware discussion about AMD's new GPUs.
Exciting stuff. Very good. Very good. Yeah, we had like a little flurry of things coming in before today's cast, which is quite useful actually, because there's not been any events or anything like that really in Tarkov land. So shall we go straight into the early announcement from this week of Escape from Tarkov Arena becoming available on the Epic Games Store very soon? And there was a teaser video, which I don't think it showed anything in particular. I'm sure Church will pull it up on the screen. But it didn't show anything in particular other than, use your presets and, change your kit and, basically showcasing Tarkov's as the best weapon builder out there in terms of regular FPSs and that kind of thing. And that it's coming to the Epic Store. So this is an interesting choice. See the first comment underneath the tweet was all 6 people who use EGS will be thrilled.
Aww.
Which is probably a bit mean, but no, it's an interesting choice. I think because people were expecting, or not necessarily expecting, but the question over the years has always been like, is Tarkov going to come to Steam eventually? For them to put Arena and Arena only onto EGS, at least for the time being anyway, that kind of makes it, I mean, it doesn't preclude Steam, coming into the picture at some point for the base game or anything like that. It doesn't stop that. And I think the reason why they didn't want to do that was because Valve takes a huge cut, right? So like 30%, I think, is the Valve cut of any sales that you make on the Steam platform. Like, it's huge.
I think so.
I don't know what the EGS cut is, but I have heard on the rumor mill that it is a lot lower.
Yeah.
As you might imagine. And when we talk about this on stream, I was kind of like, well, it probably has to be, right? Because why would you list somewhere else if it was the same price as on Steam? Like, Steam is the premium service. It has the best reputation and they charge accordingly. So, it kind of makes sense. But yeah, I think the biggest unknown question for this is whether it's just going to turn up on EGS as the same price as it is now. Is it like $20? I can't remember what Arena even costs now. I think it's like $25.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so it's just the only way that I think this would ever make a big enough splash for it to actually like move the needle for BSG is if they released it on EGS free to play. Personally, I doubt they're going to do that, but I think that's the only way that they would even get that they're even going to get any traction here.
Mm-hmm.
If this is the intended purpose for this thing specifically in a vacuum on its own, and like this announcement is like just its own thing. The other part to it, and this is kind of drawing from Nice Guy's video, because Nice Guy's like kind of stopped making Tarkov videos for the most part, and he's focusing on some other game. He's focusing on Star Citizen and Broken Arrow and a few other things like that right now. But he actually came back to the Tarkov channel to make a video on this in particular, and I did think that his thoughts were quite good. He basically said that Epic Games, the fact that they've listed something on the Epic Games Store means they might be doing something with them in a broader sense. It's not just like, oh, we're going to list your game there. It's like, okay, well, if we put our games on there, then in future potentially we could get your help with using the Unreal Engine and like move stuff in the future away from Unity potentially, if they did want to do that for future projects, because we know that BSG have got future projects in the pipeline. They've got this Russia 2028 thing that they've said they were looking at doing for ages. But the last time Nikita spoke about it, that I heard at least, he said that was on hold and they were looking at doing something else. Like, they were doing pre-production for Russia 2028, but they were actually looking at doing something different. So it is plausible that those that this could be like the precursor to them doing something in the future. Like, lots of people were like, oh, they're going to move Tarkov to Unreal. Can you imagine if they move Tarkov to Unreal? It's just like, zero, like zero
Yeah.
chance. I'm confident about that. Right? There's
Oh yeah.
0% chance that it's going to move to Unreal. It just doesn't even make sense. The only sort of thing that you could get similar to that is if they suddenly announce, once the game's released, we're going to make Tarkov 2 and we're going to put that on Unreal instead. It's just like, yeah, it just doesn't make sense for that to be the case. But like future projects could technically be on Unreal. And so I think that's what he was saying, was that like very, very broad speculation. Nobody knows, right? But it was like the only way that this makes sense is for there to be a broader tie-up between the two companies, because like just
Yeah.
releasing Arena and having it paid for on EGS is going to do nothing. I
Yeah.
think is kind of the thought process.
They
So
could
there's
have.
got to be something bigger.
Yeah, I mean, I would suspect they might have signed an exclusivity, like platform type thing, like basically you sign with Epic
Yeah,
Games that this is going to be the only storefront that you're selling your product, something like
potentially.
this.
I mean, apparently, Nice Guy did actually speak to Nikita on it, and he said that it was a strategic. Or I think Nice Guy asked him if it was a strategic move, and he said yes. So that's why he's drawing inference from it that it's a broader, there's a broader thing here. It's a bigger discussion than just Arena going onto EGS, because I mean, like, how many more incremental players are there to go into Arena now? How many new players are there going to be now who are going to be paying for Arena? But the thing is, it makes it tricky, right? Like they're sort of in a bit of a hole with it, because Arena is part of like the value proposition for something like Unheard. If you make it free after people have bought the game, it's like a bit weird. So like, they're in a sort of a funny spot with it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. But I think a lot of people are surprised by this, because it's not what people were expecting
I just like
by any
what
means.
someone said in chat was killing Fortnite's.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anything else to add on that topic?
I mean, it just
Your
seems kind
side?
of weird to me, but I mean, like, it's almost like a non-feature update. You know what I mean? The way I'm looking at it,
Hmm.
but I mean, sure, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. There was there's a few memes going around about, in the kind of splash picture for the
Mm.
announcement, the person's finger, it's like the person with the killer helmet, like their finger's like super long
Oh
on the
yeah.
pistol, and I saw, I saw that doing the rounds. Well, that did make me laugh quite a lot. There was there was a couple of people like just memeing about that, and then where was it? Maybe I've lost it now, but there's one of the guys from, I think it was because it was Reply. I don't see it in this feed, but one of the guys from the VSG team, he like just did a quick, like, I don't know, Photoshop or something, and put like the index finger. Yeah, you see like the finger's like super long on the gun. It's
Oh
like
yeah, no, it's
like
definitely.
it's like really weird.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. It's almost like a perspective thing, but
I
maybe
know it
it's.
is hard to tell, but one of those guys, I can't remember which one it was, so I can't find that. I can't remember the image now, but I can't get it off the top of my head. But yeah, someone like ported it into like one of the boxes in the UI, and it's just like the index finger
Oh
was
my
like in the
god.
one of the boxes in the like the Tarkov UI. It was like one of the PSG staff guys. He like it is like stupid Photoshop. It's quite funny. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how this pans out. I mean, it's certainly interesting about their future plans. Don't really know. I don't really know what they're doing at the moment, to be honest, other than trying to finish the game. But it's hard to know what they're going to do next. That's the big question mark. We'll probably find out more about these things after 1.0, I imagine. They probably don't want to talk about this stuff until the game releases anyway, right? Because they don't want to get, I don't know, slated for starting to talk about other projects before the game's actually out of beta, I would guess. But okay. So yeah, so that's the Arena coming to the Epic Store. So it's not the base game. The base game is still just going to be in the launcher. So it's only Arena for the time being. We have just had the Scav survey, which was, what do we have? Yeah, so actually there were two surveys. I meant to write this into the thing, but we'll let's do the Scav survey first, because I've got the actual link for that up. So we did one recently, and let me see if I can find the pictures survey. How many pictures were there? I've got like a list of them from before. There's the flea one, and then there's the Scav one. Okay, I've got the Scav one up here. So yeah, BSG said, we appreciate your time and effort in participating in this in-game survey and are happy to share some key insights. The exact numbers will not be summarized, but we've highlighted percentage distribution. So yeah, they wanted to know about Scav. So the majority of players, and yeah, this is why the survey stuff is good, right? The majority of players, 64%, prefer to be able to plan and control their gameplay as a scav by picking the time and location of a raid. 30% of players, on the other hand, prefer random selection, believing that dynamic and unpredictability makes the gameplay more exciting. The ability to choose raid, time, and location, convenience, and planning allows players to avoid unwanted encounters. For example, 82.6% of players stated that their main goal when playing the scav is to find valuable loot or items needed for tasks and hideout upgrades. I mean, that's definitely true this wipe because of the whole finding raid hideout thing, right? Like it mattered a bit less previously because you could go in as PMC and put something in your butt and then die and then put that into your hideout. So like this matters a lot more because you actually need to stay alive.
But even prior, I feel like this is going to be the biggest margin by far out of all the choices.
That is true. Yeah, so question 1, should players still have a choice to select raid time and location when playing as a scav? 64% yes, it makes scav gameplay more convenient. 30% no, playing as a scav needs to be a random gameplay element. So, you know what, that's fair enough, right? The community's spoken. There's more people who are using scav and utilizing that for just making the game actually playable, especially in its current form, than not. So fair enough. What is your main objective when playing a scav? 83%. I look for gear and task and hideout items. I mean, that was the same for me, to be honest. 7%. I look for PvP fights. 4% increasing fence standing. I love the fact they managed to look for PvP fights twice. I'm not sure whether there was a actually. Which was this? This was question 2. They managed to put I look for PvP fights second time. So what was? Wait, hold on.
I look for PvP fights. I also look for PvP fights.
Yeah, the question number 1. Question number 1. It wasn't actually question number 1 on the poll. Here we go. It was question number 3, but they said like, do I play PvE or PvP on the actual poll? So that was actually number 3. So when should players wait? They've just put them in a random order. So where was this question? Because I've got them in the order that they were in before. Maybe they did it later. Here we go. Yeah, this is like nearly the last question on the poll. What's your main objective in playing a scav? So it said I look for gear and hideout items. I'm increasing fence standing. That's 1. I look for PvP fights. That's 1. I learn game mechanics. That's 1. That was the lowest on this one, apparently. And then the locations. And then there's another one that says I don't play as scav. So maybe that's that one. Maybe that's what that's supposed to be. But it's like mislabeled. So that's missing actually from that. So I don't play as scav is probably 2% of players or whatever. But that's pretty funny. Question number 3. What is your approximate PMC to scav ratio? It's either I mostly play PMC, 43%, 40% of players both, 10% only plays PMC, 6% I play mostly as a scav, and 0.4% I only play as a scav. You know, what there's one in 220 players, the scav main, the fully scav main. Big respect. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, only 9% of people play like exclusively as PMC. I mean, this doesn't really tell you enough to make a full conclusion, right? But it's like people who deem themselves to be only PMC players is only 9% of the player base, and that was when did this poll actually take place? Let me remind myself now. This was on the 13th of Feb, so that's a month and a half into the wipe. So it's still relatively early. It's still relatively early because I would imagine, as time goes on, like as people fall off the Tarkov wagon, they're not going to see the tweet, and the people who are more casual are not going to bother going into the game to vote. I would guess that would be my broad guess. So the people who are voting as time goes on in the wipe are people who are more committed or whatever. So there's a certain subset of people who will always just fall off. Out of the Tarkov kind of just algorithm or whatever, and just like not check, forget, and not realize there's a poll and not go in there. So this is probably as low as it gets, relatively speaking. I reckon that I only play as PMC count probably goes up. If you did it in 2 months' time, it probably would be higher, would be my guess. But anyway, that's kind of interesting one. I mostly play as PMC versus I play both Scav and PMC equally. It's like more even than I thought it would be. I thought more people would say I play both Scav and PMC equally. I think I played mostly PMC. I think I put mostly PMC, but I thought more people would be. I thought it'd be like, I don't know, 20% I mostly PMC and then 60% Scav and PMC, but they're much closer than I thought. Okay, so they didn't actually put the rest of the answers for different questions with a full breakdown, but they just gave like kind of an overview of the other ones. So we already said this about selecting raid time. It was like 65-30 versus yes no. Main objective, mostly loot items. Yeah, we just did the PMC to scav ratio. So scav spawn timing. Most players prefer scavs to spawn 15 to 20 minutes after the raid starts or near the end of the raid, understandably. Players prefer large locations with a variety of loot, such as streets, 15%, reserve, 14%, and customs, 13%. I mean, customs must just be a hangover from like newer players wanting to play customs more because it's the map they know. It must
Yeah.
be. But I'm shocked that customs and streets are so. I mean, to be fair, there's a whole bunch of people that can't play streets as well because of hardware. So maybe that like dampens the streets, count a lot. But it's interesting that because people like I see people sing the praises of Scav Lighthouse all the time, and Lighthouse, like I guess these are probably the top. These are the top three. Is my guess. It doesn't say that, but I assume these are the top three. So I'm surprised Lighthouse isn't up there. I'm surprised Customs is in there. I'm surprised Streets is so low, and I'm surprised Reserve is so high.
Yeah, reserve is interesting too. I agree with that. I don't. That one's kind of surprising, but I can understand the customs and streets one, but yeah, the reserve one, I don't know. I mean, it used to be back before like when we had what 6 maps maybe. Like reserve was like the newest map. Like that was like Scav Haven. Remember? Because like paracords were like gold, like a gold bar basically, and they were just so valuable. And you just scav in, and they were like everywhere on the map. Felt like, but
There was all sorts of stuff, tech drop down room and all sorts of things. There was like stuff everywhere on Reserve. It was like light. Well, it was, to be honest, it's like all the maps are when they first start, isn't it? Like Reserve was goated, and then Lighthouse is crazy, and then Streets was crazy. They've all just been like slowly toned down as time goes on.
I mean, I guess one way to look at it, yeah, someone's in chat. It's like because the scav extracts are so good, like it is pretty easy to secure loot, So maybe you don't like always get what you're looking for, but I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of like food crates and stuff. Because that's the one thing about customs. Like, yeah, I think it is pretty, you know, skewed in terms of like scavs picking maps for like new players, but also just like loot's not that bad either. And like, you need so many like, I mean, not as many like light bulbs, but you need a lot of like bolts or nuts or which I think it's like bolts. And customs has got a lot of like industrial loot, so I could see
true.
that.
It does these days. Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, I can't remember the last time I scavved in on customs. Like the last time I scavved in on customs was probably like 2 reworks ago or something.
Yeah.
But like you basically, ran around the map a little bit, went to dorms to see if anybody had killed the boss or there was a load of PMC loot there, and that was kind of it. But like you're right, there's the whole factory zone area that's been around for like ever. We've got the with the rework, we've got all the buildings you can go inside now. Like there's actually a lot of loot on customs. So I just kind of I'm still sort of stuck in the old ways because I don't usually scav all that much, and when I do, it's on the streets normally. And I guess the thing about reserve, there's there are a lot of filing cabinets in quite close proximity, and then you can get out of the map relatively easily. So, and it's the thing about reserve over customs is that it's quite hard for PMCs.
Yeah,
and I think that's sort of similar thing for streets. It's like the harder the map is for PMCs, the better it is for scavs because the PMCs are kind of checking every corner, like going through the really tight bits, so they're not exposing themselves, whatever. So scav, you're just like running around reserve, going into the buildings, looting stuff. You're running across the road on streets. Sniper scavs not shooting at you all the time, etc. So, but yeah, I'm surprised. I thought this would be different, but I guess that's the deal.
What if Lighthouse is like 13.03%, just like right behind customs? They cut it off.
My kind of guess is that Lighthouse is favored by certain players in particular, and that you do have to, because with the other maps, you don't really have to be that skilled at the map. Like you just have to know the map broadly and then play it, right? Reserve is probably one of the easier maps because of how little it is actually. So Reserve is quite small. It's like quite compact and it's very square. Extracts are quite easy to get to as a scav. The thing about Lighthouse is that it's really, really good, but you kind of have to know how to fight rogues and stuff if you want to like make the most out of it.
True.
And I feel that maybe that limits its appeal. So there's some people who they know how to fight rogues, they know how to move through water treatment, all this kind of stuff, and they can make a ton out of the map. But you kind of have to be a bit more skilled in what you're doing. It kind of puts a bit of a skill sort of gate on people scavving in. It's not just like brain dead run around the map with the headphone off while I'm eating sandwich with one hand kind of map. Like you have to actually like do stuff. That's what I feel.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
Yeah. Because you can kill, as we said before, you can still kill rogues with like no penalty. They forget after that same raid that you were a naughty boy. So
Do
there's really
they?
no
I don't
penalty to
even
killing
know.
rogues. Yeah, I don't think there's like for PMC it's like 3 raids or something, but Scav you can just go straight back in and they're just like, yo,
Oh,
what's up, bud?
okay. I thought you meant the
Yeah.
same raid, like they have like a goldfish
Oh no,
memory.
no, no.
That guy over there. Where'd he go?
Locals have arrived. So 70% of players prefer peaceful interaction with other scavs and maintaining a positive standing with fence. No surprise there, although I'm amazed that that's not even higher, to be honest. But we've talked before about the lack of incentive of having a negative standing with fence. Penalty system. This one's funny. 37% of players think the penalty system is fair. 28% think that it's too weak, and 20% think it's too severe.
Well, it says too severe for accidental kills.
True,
It is
true.
a interesting way to word it.
But it's like,
Because what about intentional kills? Am I right?
yes, exactly. Exactly. What was the actual question? So the original question was, do you think the penalty system for negative fence standing is balanced enough? And the answers were yes, the penalties are fair. No, the penalties are too strict, especially for accidental kills. No, the penalties are too soft. The system needs to be stricter, or I don't pay attention to it.
Mm.
So if you wanted them to be more strict, there wasn't. I don't like the especially bit. I don't know why they worded it that way. It's like annoying. It's just like it should just be yes, it's fair. No, it isn't. Like, or yes, it's fair. It's too strict. It's too soft. Or like, I don't know.
They need to be less biased in the way they word their questions.
Yeah, because if it says like no, no, the penalty is too strict, and then it says especially for accidental kills, it's like, well, if you think it's too strict, but accidental kills are not a problem, or whatever, then like then there's no option for you anymore. It's just like weird. Questions just weird. But anyway, so it's very mixed. Basically, no information to be taken out of that whatsoever, other than probably like the penalty system is kind of fair. The real question is like, do you think that the scav carbon system is good? That's a much better question.
That would be interesting because that feels very divisive.
Yeah. So, Scav starter equipment. 36% of players would like Fence to have a stronger influence. 31% are satisfied with the system, and half the players play Scav through the whole wipe. 35% play mostly at the beginning. Not super interesting, but the best part about this is under the conclusion. It says we will be further analysing in-game data and collecting player feedback to improve the game balancing. Based on the results of the survey, we have adjusted player Scav spawn times, who will now spawn no earlier than 17 minutes after the start of the raid on most locations, excluding factory, reserve, and low-level ground zero. The starter equipment system has also been improved. From now on, higher fence standing has a larger impact on the quality of the gear. The information gathered will be used to further improve the Scav gameplay. So, yeah, apparently Reserve is the new Scav map then, if that's the one map that you can still spawn in early on. I don't know why they decided to carve out Reserve.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe that's a lore kind of like feel thing. Like they want Reserve to be hard. And the extracts are annoying and players got spawn there early.
Hard enough.
I know it's really hard, exactly. So like it's just I don't know. It's weird that they low level ground zero. I understand. Factory makes sense because the time is super short.
Honestly, the only
Reserve, though, like
the only reason we aren't bitching about Reserve is because Lighthouse exists. That's it. But when I think about it, that map is awful. You have like the inverse problem where instead of dying off the spawn, I guess Lighthouse has that too a bit, but some spawns are like just kind of fine. You can just turtle. I guess you could do the same on Reserve. Never mind. Everything I'm saying is irrelevant. It is a bad map.
So they've actually made some changes apparently.
Yeah.
And put them in the game. So we'll see. We'll see how that feels. I mean, maybe am I going to try? Am I going to try it? I don't know. We'll have to see how player Scav like battling feels on maps like Lighthouse and on streets. That's probably where I'm going to feel it the most. Not whether it makes that enough difference on the streets or not. I don't know, because like 17 minutes, streets is 50 minutes at the time. It's the longest map, so that means that Scavs won't be spawning in until at least 33. So I guess that does give you quite a while. And then what's the Lighthouse time? Is it 45 minutes?
I think
Let's
so.
see. I'm just going to check. It is 40 according to the wiki. So that's interesting because that means that Scavs won't be able to spawn until 23. 23 would be the earliest that you could spawn on Lighthouse after this change, which is probably good, to be honest. Probably good for that map. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Oh yes, yes. Before I forget, I didn't put it on the list because it's literally only came today, and I kind of forgot about it. So there was a new. It literally just came out like 1 hour ago. There is a new survey. Where is this? New survey. Blah 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 blah. I think this was this morning. I actually retweeted it, so probably should just go on my own profile. Where is it? Yeah, so players have access to a new iteration of in-game surveys. This time, the questions are aimed at gathering additional feedback on weather conditions, visibility, and in-game seasons. So, I mean, I'll just quickly go through what it was. We don't need to put them all up or anything. So, yeah, this is about weather conditions. The questions so far are: which in-game season do you think is the most comfortable, enjoyable to play in? Summer, fall, winter, spring. I was actually not sure what to put here because sometimes I quite like winter because it's hard for people to camp, but I've actually preferred going back to spring. Like winter, this winter was hard. I feel it was fun for a while, and then recently it's been hard. I don't know. What time of day do you pick most often when starting a raid? Morning, afternoon, evening, or night? And there's another one. I pick time based on active tasks and raid goals. I put afternoon because there's not an option for not nighttime. Basically, just anything that's not going to go into nighttime, which is usually how I pick it. Afternoon's probably most like that. Which weather effect do you find the most annoying? Rain, fog, overcast, clear weather, or the effects are fine? I mean, I just checked fog and moved on. Would you like the weather to change faster throughout the raid? And there's like a couple. It's interesting options. Like I never really thought about it, to be honest. I think I just put like I like it as it is now. I don't think I care too much. It's like yes, faster weather change would add to the dynamic. Weather should remain the same as it was when the raid started. So like don't change it. Or I would like more smooth transitions between different weather states. I mean, it feels fine to me. Honestly, I'm not bothered about the weather change in game. I feel like it changes sometimes. Most of the time it doesn't, and occasionally it does, and it's like kind of cool when it does. I don't know. I feel like it's all right. Would you like to see more extreme weather conditions, e.g., storm, heavy rain, blizzard? Yes, it would add to atmosphere. Yes, only on certain maps. No, but the current effects are fine. No, it will hurt the balance. I think I just put no, the current effects are fine. I'm not sure if I want more like mega storms on the map. Would you like to be able to choose the weather season in PvE? I don't really play PvE that much, but I just put yes, it would add to the variety because, like, why not? You know, people can do what they like in PvE. Would you like the in-game weather seasons to change more often? Yes, no, current season rate change is fine, which I also put, yeah, it's fine. I was very impartial about this one. How do you feel the effects of the season change affect the gameplay and performance? And there's like a whole bunch. It's like season change has no effect on gameplay and performance. I don't notice a significant change in performance, but the season change does affect the game's atmosphere, which is the one I chose. Season change may affect performance slightly, but does not interfere with comfortable gameplay. Season change significantly affects performance, which makes gameplay worse, or certain seasons can make the performance worse. I've never felt any problem with seasons, to be honest. Like it's always been one thing or another, right? Like this time, people going, "Oh, but the seasons made it terrible." And I'm like, "No, it's the upgrade to Unity 2022." I think sometimes people improperly assign it to the wrong thing, and you know, in the past, it's been and people are speculating as well. Like, is it the fog? Is it not the fog? Does fog make the FPS go up? Does it make it go down? No one really knows. Final question: do you like the current rain volume? It's fine. It's louder than I'd like, but doesn't interfere. Rain is very loud. It makes it impossible to hear other sounds. We've reduced the rain volume like how many times is it now? Like six times or something? Reduced the rain volume.
It used to be so bad. It was like deafening. Good God.
It was almost like headset off level. Like I'm actually going to hurt my hearing, right? Kind of thing. The current rain volume is fine because I just don't really notice it anymore. I think it's only when it's like uber heavy rain do I think like, man, that is quite loud actually. But that's sort of like kind of okay as well. I don't really mind.
It can be annoying for sure, but yeah, I mean it's like one of those things. Like if it doesn't crop up every so often, then it's like fine. But when it's like how it used to be, where it was like anytime it was raining, it was just like you didn't even want to play Tarkov. You know, it was like so bad.
Yeah. So and that's kind of what I'm basing this off. Like if I'm not thinking about it and like complaining about it, or at least like putting it on a list of stuff, then it's probably okay. Is like that's sort of what I'm basing this off, because usually otherwise if something is a problem, I either get like people talking to me about it or I'm talking about it and going like, oh, that's, you know, that feels obnoxious, whatever. Like I can't remember the last time that I said like, oh, that rain's really obnoxious, except for maybe occasionally when it was like really loud for some specific reason in one particular map. Like it just doesn't happen that often. I mean, to be honest, I haven't really seen it raining that much this wipe even. I don't think so. It's just not really been a big problem for me. So I'm just kind of like, whatever, just leave it as it is. I think a lot of it, I feel like it's actually kind of okay. yeah, like season changes could happen faster, but like it doesn't make or break the game. Like the only one that really matters to me is winter, really, like winter or not, because otherwise, like the foliage is there. It's kind of a bit whatever, you know, in my opinion. So I don't really mind. But we'll see what people say. You know, maybe people have more strong opinions than I do on this one in particular.
What else?
So the last thing in terms of kind of like news and timely updates is a new website, kind of forum-y tracker kind of thing. And it looks like it's being owned by Trent, I think, one of the emissaries.
Okay.
This is Trent AU. And basically what it is, it's called Tarkov.community. And if you go on to Tarkov.community, it is a website. And it's like the aim of this, it's something that I've thought about for ages and wanted to kind of do like on my own, but this is a much, much better way of doing it. It basically bypasses. It's like a sort of a to-do list, like an upvotey to-do list kind of thing. I don't know what you'd call it. It's a bit like a tracker, like you'd have it, you know, for you know in your job or something. You know, like I think it's how people use like certain other things. Like I've not used them, but like Notion and stuff like this, where you've got like certain lists of stuff or whatever. But anyway, it's like a crowdsourced like bug and change submission tracker, which avoids the problem of social media being that this stuff just rotates continuously, right?
Right.
Like if you look at Reddit, like it'll be cheaters, it'll be performance, it'll be something else. Some bug will get upvoted a bunch and then it'll disappear. And then the next one gets upvoted a bunch and then it'll disappear. And it's just on this constant rotation. And you know, YouTube is sort of similar in some ways. People talk about specific issues, but you know, the text social medias are much more like that, you know, Twitter and Reddit and whatnot. So what this does is basically you put in a suggestion, someone on the team categorizes it as to, because you can't actually do that yourself right now, because I did put one in myself and you can only put in like the text, and someone on the team is either going to merge it into an existing ask or like categorize it and put it in as a new line, and then you can go through and upvote stuff and decide what is important to you and what's not important to you. And so this hopefully will allow the community more closely to track. And I think you have to log in through Discord, I think, or something, so it's not, you know, you can't just like spam this thing. Well, that's the idea anyway. And yeah, it's basically, it's a big list of stuff that people want to see. It's supposed to consolidate all of these threads that pop up and put them in a more permanent place. And then once something gets done, or BSG says, I guess, that they're not going to do it, then people could like, you know, team can like remove them or whatever. So ways to just sort of track what the community's after. So if we look at some of the top voted suggestions so far, this has actually had like a huge boost in popularity, because Nikita put a post out 3 hours ago saying Tarkov.community, singular hub for all players to submit, discuss, upvote bugs and suggestions. Website run by the official EFT emissaries and serves the following purpose. It's not a replacement. Everyone is still encouraged to file official bug reports through the launcher or the official website. This platform is a means to supplement that process and assist in tracking broader community feedback. Upvote anything you'd like to see prioritized, right? So this makes sense. This makes sense, right? Because when you submit a bug to BSG as well, it just goes into the ether. Who knows? Like somebody might pick it up, read it, merge it into something on some tracker on their side. Like it's just very hard to know. But this is a really good job for the emissaries to do that someone at BSG doesn't have to go and do, and keeps the track more on like what people actually want without them continuously having to look at social media or the emissaries having to do that as well and be feeding back to them in real time. It's just a much better way of doing it. So the top voted one for now, this is actually, it's all like changed around a little bit, but add container in stash for hideout and hideout for keys. Add a container for keys, like a massive key ring or a key closet in the hideout, which I actually think would be a good idea, because you know you'd be able to build it. You know, we've always said add more stuff that you have to like make. That is kind of cool. And at the minute, you have to keep all these things basically in just like a bunch of docs cases. It's like really annoying. So have it like a stash specific thing, and not being able to bring it to raid means that you can have a case to put the keys in. It's just good quality of life. So that's the top one right now. We've got a warning about a quest item in your inventory. There should be a warning before looking for raid. It warns you about a quest item in your quest item inventory. For example, the bronze pocket watch. That's probably a good idea because no one ever looks at the quest item inventory. Add prestige to PvE. Add cases back to marked rooms. Create a way to see all targets eliminated by the BTR after you purchase the stuff. Adjust the stats to be 12 columns wide. Add the Famis in the G3. Someone's got removed finding raid for hideout upgrades. Yeah, I'm just like looking through them. A lot of these were bugs before, and now a lot of them are actually suggestions. Interestingly, it can be both, but yeah, we'll just have to see. Like, I submitted one about is this trending or most wanted? Oh, that's trending. That's why. Okay, yeah. So by default, it's on trending, which actually I think is probably that actually brings back some of the problems that you have from social media in the first place. It probably wants to be like, well, I guess trending allows something new to get upvoted. But anyway, so most wanted is what I should be looking at really. Which the second one here is like things like incrementally add / turn in items to hideout upgrades. Something that I've pushed for, something that other people have asked about. But like, where does that go in terms of a bug report? Like, where does that go in a prioritization list? You know, a bit tricky. So the fact that it's on here is good, and then people can comment on it with suggestions and whatnot. There's one that I think is controversial: the paracord in the special slot. I know a lot of people want to see this. I'm like slowly moving towards being like, sure. Because originally I was just like, oh no, but it makes you make difficult choices about what's going in your secure container or not. And like, as time goes on, I'm just thinking more and more like, do I care? Like, do I actually care? Do I care that the paracord is like, it's one of these other things. You're basically just going to lose a bit more money when you die because you've now got CMS in your bag rather than like, does it matter? Do we care? Like, it'll help
Is it
standard
enough to
people as
move the
well.
needle?
Like, is it an interesting enough mechanic? It's like, oh, if I'm on a map with a paracord, I just have to have that. I just pick whichever item's the most expensive, and then I put the cheaper one in my bag. Like, is it actually interesting? Like, I'm sort of like been questioning myself over the last week, and I've slowly moved from no, don't do it, my skill cap to like, yeah, go for it. Who cares?
Oh my god. No, don't do it to Miss Skill Cap. It sounds like have you ever seen that one meme with the priest? He's like,
Which
no.
one?
It's a bit of a naughty meme. He's like, no, don't do it.
Oh,
I'm
I
a
think I know what you
virgin.
mean.
That's what it sounded like when he said it. No, don't do it to Miss Skill Cap.
But I mean, yeah, look, we've seen the fact that they've put the flares now. You can put them in the special slot.
Yeah,
Like,
it's the
that's
way
kind
that
of cool.
the is
Like,
going is like, it feels like,
yeah, like maybe
eventually.
lean into it. They could lean into that. You could put a bunch of stuff in there because then it's like, oh, I've got green flare in there, paracord in there, but I can't take markers now. So if I'm doing a markers quest, I've got to, what? I don't know. And you might end up having paracord, green flare, and then like rangefinder or something. That's your special slot. Like some people were saying, oh, well, we need like red rebel or something as well. But I guess you carry that in melee, so it matters less.
Yeah,
but
we need
anyway, I think this
RPG
is interesting.
7. Let's see.
Oh yes, so RPG in the special slot. Yeah. Desert Eagle goes in the special slot.
No.
So yeah, there's a bunch of just obvious stuff. Restart fail quest automatically, please. GP coin currency counter in the actual like EFT stash, not just in the arena stash. This one was good. Press hold to transit instead of press to transit. Transit locations should require players to hold the transit button for approximately 3 seconds before activating it. So it's not just like press and go. It's so easy to press it. There's loads of stuff, right? Make Grenadier a separate passive task, cosmetics and things, like add presets to post effects. Like there's loads of things. It's really good though. I'm a huge like advocate of this. I think this is a great thing because it allows people to vote on what they think is the most important. And yeah, it just stops the scroll of problems. It's like a new problem crops up. Is it on the list? No. Okay, we add it. Great, and now it's on there. It's like permanent. It's much more permanent than the usual cycle of crap that we have in the Tarkov community. So I like it.
I like this. This is great. However, I like this. No, it's like
that one, the hold to account spreadsheet.
Yeah, the Tarkov promise tracker. No, they're kind of like different purposes, but I saw a comment on one of our episodes that again reminded me they still haven't gotten rid of the turn speed modifiers. Just like there is a lot of pre-existing quality of life stuff that they've said they would do. Like,
He promised me on Reddit. Who would break such a promise?
Reddit.
Nikita said to me on Reddit that he was going to remove them.
But Giga, he didn't give you a specific date, so it's still on his list. Okay.
It's soon.
Yeah.
It's soon to end. It's
And
coming
now
in.
look, he's got more things to add on the list. This is great.
It's coming in 2028. Actually, I should add that to the list. Please remove the turn speed modifier. Like, it's so small now, it doesn't matter, except in some small cases where it ends up mattering for, some random reason, and just makes certain armors just worse than everything else for no good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Just is. Yeah, I should add it on there. See if it's on there or not. I think people have it's so small now most of the time that people have just forgotten. They should just get rid of it completely.
It's just
It really serves no
annoying.
purpose at this point.
I just don't. I mean, I played a game not too long ago. It's called Mecha Break, and it's like Gooner video game plus mechs. Anyways, it wasn't really for me. Character customization's great though. But anyways, one of the mechanics they have is like different mechs had different turn speeds, which is fine.
Right.
But the way they implemented it was so bad, and I think it was a controller thing. Like the game feels like it was made for controllers first, and then like ported to PC in a sense. And some of the files kind of back up that claim. But anyways, essentially what you could do is if you turned your mouse too fast, your mech would accelerate and it would hit the threshold at which you start capping your speed. But if you turned your mouse beneath that, whatever that speed is of your mech, then you wouldn't hit that threshold, so you could actually turn faster. So it was like this weird mini game I had to play where it's like I couldn't react too fast. I had to like slow my reaction time. You think about those like Counter-Strike flick, boom, headshot type, but you had to like slow it down. But you had to like optimize it to be within this, maximum speed without hitting the turn speed cap. It was really lame and I hated it. But
I was gonna say it's like sword fighting in June. Everyone's got everyone's got like a projectile, like a velocity shield or whatever. Like fast moving projectiles get blocked. So sword fighting in June is like you can't cut too fast. You have to come in like kind of slow to avoid like the velocity shield. It's like same concept kind of thing, almost, but in a different context.
Yeah,
it's a cool concept. It's a cool concept.
Yeah.
The church's skill cap of the mouse mini game.
Yeah, this, however, not cool. Well, it's just like I would like to play. Try the one where it's like the free aim. Like I feel like that's a good compromise. Like your gun's not tied to your camera in the center of the screen, and you have like a radius where once your gun hits a certain threshold or like hits a certain point on the screen, like you could imagine like an oval, and once you like go past that oval with your mouse movements, then your character starts turning. But otherwise, you gotta like, it's like a hybrid. Yeah, actually, kind of reminds me of like the Mech Warrior games. I don't know if anyone's ever played it. I think they used to work like that. But you would like move you move your cannons on your screen, and then you had to like turn separately, I think. But instead, you just like keep it all in one mouse movement. So instead of like turning, you use your mouse instead of like a keyboard to turn. Anyways, something like that for Tarkov. I played it with one of the mods I had, and it's like, yeah, like I kind of like it. So that would be my like compromise, but that's extra work, If it'd just be simpler, to rip it out, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think like you proposed previously, like a long time ago, about a system where the camera moves, but the gun like follows if it's too fast, kind of deal.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember.
You have like a maximum. Your PMC has a maximum turn rate, but like your camera moves regardless. But if you move it too quick, like your gun barrel's like not keeping up.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you have that being the modifier. So if you want to,
because then it doesn't feel like you're sluggish because you can look, but it's just like your PMC doesn't always turn.
Yeah, but that might be super annoying though.
Imagine how annoying that is. You start firing, it's like as it comes around, the gun comes
You have an M60, and it's just like you're turned all the way, and your gun's just like
more like movie style.
Yeah, sounds cookie for an FPS. Yeah.
I know. I think they should just get rid of all of it, right? It's just all gone, And this is the thing. We have other mechanics in the game. We've said this before. We have other mechanics in the game that are fine for this. You have ergonomics which means that your gun ADS is more slowly.
Mhm.
That's how you get the feeling of the weightiness. And like you actually, the move speed modifier, that's okay. Don't care about that. Like
Yeah.
your BMC is actually physically heavier. You do stamina faster. You go out of breath, whatever. Right? That makes sense. But the turn speed modifier is just silly, right? It shouldn't happen. But it doesn't matter that much anymore. I mean, most of the headsets. I'm just like having a look at a few helmets. Right, this one's like -2. ULAC is -2. Even some of the heavier body armors, like the Gem 4 high mobility is probably one of the worst for it. That's -8, and that's with all the plates in. The Defender 2 is -6. The Thor is -4. That's with all the plates in it.
Yeah. It's just
So like
annoying because when you
yeah.
do run into those extremes, like maybe you killed a guy, you lose his armor, and he's got like this weird heavy, or maybe you found an armor, you're going to use it, but you're not used to. It's just like those little things that make it weird and inconsistent, and it just doesn't feel good.
Correct. I agree wholeheartedly with you. So yeah, stuff like that. So I'm gonna have to start. Maybe I'm gonna have to make like a billion posts because I've got like lists of stuff. So I'm just gonna be like, get rid of the turn speed because I already did one, right, which is the change the zeroing system.
I saw
fix
that.
The zeroing
That would be
system.
a great
So
thing.
to fix the zeroing system, get rid of the turn speed problem. Make the bigger armors class 4 soft. I've got loads of suggestions that are not in here. So maybe I should do that. Well, I wonder where the zeroing. Where did that one end up? Oh, no one cared. It's only a 31. So this is the thing. People don't care.
I'm kind of
People
critical of the.
People want a huge key case. People want a massive key case.
Yeah.
They don't care about the zeroing system. They want to store 15 million keys in their stash. They don't care about actually hitting headshots with sniper rifles.
Well, it's also just like, oh, that's add a container stash for hideout keys. That's super easy to comprehend. Whereas like fix the zeroing system, X, Y, and Z. It's like, I would bet that like half the user base isn't even aware that zeroing system is like an issue. They probably just think that's just Tarkov bugs. It's like my gun doesn't. Why is this US? Yeah, exactly. It's lag. Why is my US bullets lagging? This sucks, you guys.
I mean, to be fair, even I got caught by this the other day, right? Shooting, what was I even firing? PS out of an SVD over a certain distance, and it was like, oh crap! It's like I'm 0 to 50 or whatever, just default. It's like 50 centimeter drop over the range I was shooting at. It's just like, oh damn! Like I'm missing by like literally half a meter. So it's easy, especially if you don't snipe a lot. It's easy to miss. But anyway, I think this is kind of good. Oh yeah, this one needs so many more upvotes. This one needs so many more upvotes. Left shoulder transition is unintuitive. Like, please, guys, how's that 24 upvotes? How has that got 24 upvotes? Whereas, like, add cases back to the mark room is like 120.
Because this is the thing. This is more like it's like they kind of recreated the Reddit system, which is fine. I mean, I don't know how else you would do something like this. But yeah,
because this is always the problem. It's like, how do you get people to vote for the things that aren't at the top? And I don't know if no spoilers or anything. People who've been watching Severance, please consider each of the suggestions equally. How do you get people to read them all and decide of the? That's fine when there's 5, but when there's like 50, 500. Like 1,000 suggestions.
I mean, yeah, you could filter.
How do you get people to read them all?
But there's a lot of filters to choose from.
Just like lock everyone out of their Tarkov accounts until they've answered the poll on. They've read through 500 suggestions and upvoted them all. So this is the thing. It's like this website's almost an interesting. It's an interesting like social experiment about how feedback like propagates through communities in the first place, right? It's like the left-hand lean thing is halfway down the page, so people are probably going to get bored by the time that they see it, even if it's probably their number one suggested thing.
Yeah, what happens when people submit a new one? It's going to have 0 uploads. It's going to go to the bottom of the list, right?
Well, I think that should go into trending, at least a bit. I don't really know.
But it would have to be
all the actually got at least like.
I think though, yeah.
There's one with 4. Like, provide more detailed after raid combat statistics. So, like, I guess
4.
The fact it's sorted by trending.
You have to go so far down. That was like 3 scrolls of page loading.
There was a couple of scrolls. Hmm.
I'm not saying. I mean, shouldn't make it seem like you're wrong. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I started off really optimistic about this, and now I feel like everything's just cursed.
Oh, don't don't let me be the soil in your forage.
There's just no good system.
Unfortunately, no, everything has its shortcomings, pros and cons.
Yeah, I know. I hate it. Why is real life like this? This is why we play video games. To avoid these kind of things. We can have
Ignorance
perfect
is
simulations
bliss.
with no losses. I'm thinking back to Factorio again. With with no losses, when everything's perfect and everything works deterministically, and you can slowly build up stuff over time, and that slowly achieve a goal and release dopamine without any downside. And
No, but I mean, on a positive note, I will say, I mean, I personally like the container thing for keys because it is annoying when you're starting out and you don't have like 7 Dux cases to store all the keys for all the maps. Like I think one episode, I think I talked about this. I know I talked about it with my friend, but like you could have a hideout module that was like a key rack, and you could have like pages, for each key, and you could like label the pages. Maybe you'd label it customs, blah blah blah, and then there's like a button, just like click, and then it just puts all the keys in the container, whatever. Like just some very intuitive, masterfully designed thing that I'm sure be issue on the first try. And it won't be any game breaking bugs. Something like that would be cool. Because it is annoying,
you
like
do it in like the
having
mannequins. Like the mannequins. You just like swap container.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because
That'd be
that
cool.
would be ideal. It's like you only need one docs case, but instead of having to manually rip out every key and then put them in, and then have all those keys take up your, like having 30 loose keys at the early phase of the wipe. That's a lot of keys to be like taking up you know slots effectively, and it
Yeah.
sucks that like you kind of want to end up buying a bunch of docs cases. Like I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess it's something to do, but at the same time, it just feels like one of these quality of life things that would be nice to have.
Yeah, people are sort of fixing the quality of life themselves by virtue of just like buying a load of docs cases.
Exactly.
You know.
Which, if
Yeah.
that's the intention, fine. But it feels like there's something there that could be made more seamless.
Badger on chat made a really interesting point just broadly about this website when I was just kind of molding a little bit about like people in the system. In that you can only upvote.
Yes.
Which does actually have an interesting kind of outcome. So imagine 2 proposals.
Mm-hmm.
One which is mildly good and gets 200 people. Everybody likes it, but no one's like feels that strongly about it, so it gets just 100 upvotes, whatever. Then there's another proposal that comes through, like this is a bad example because we actually know the stats of this now, but like scavs should be randomized on maps or whatever. Highly controversial, very polarizing,
Right.
and lots of people have an opinion on it. Well, in the mild case where everybody likes it and everybody agrees with it broadly, but not that many people vote, you're probably going to have theoretically very few downvotes, but a lot of some upvotes. That's fine. But a highly controversial issue that should have lots of downvotes to offset the positives, you just won't see the negatives. You can disagree in the comments, but there's no counter to the plus.
Right.
So then it ends up looking like a very favored suggestion, but there's no way to bring the count down. So it actually ends up leapfrogging even something that 100% of people like. A controversial thing that people feel very strongly about both ways, 50-50, will end up getting more votes than something that 100% of people want, mildly. Just because of the way this system works. Because there's no downvoting. Because imagine that our nice suggestion is 0 downvotes and 100 upvotes. Our controversial suggestion, in theory, would be -500 +500, so it'd end up with a total score of 0. But in this system, it just ends up with +500 because the negative votes don't exist in this system. You can't downvote the suggestion on Tarkov Community. So this is going to there's a bias towards like polarizing decisions or polarizing opinions on here because there's no counter. I guess you could end up with the same one in negative, having the same number of upvotes. That'd be kind of weird, Scavs should stay on the same map 500 upvotes. Scavs should be on random map. 500 upvotes. You could it's possible to have like
yeah, that's
2
funny.
opposing suggestions.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Is like not voting is effectively a negative vote, right? Because you can only vote once.
But it isn't quite, because you can't take votes away. So it's like it's different. It's different. It's not necessarily bad, but it's different. You get a different outcome.
Yeah, like effectively anything I haven't voted for. It's kind of like, it's like wasted. It's almost like a negative. It's negatively impacting it, right, within the list of stuff. Wait, why is
other things? Yeah,
there might be a bug.
That's because it's on trending, and these are like really old ones, aren't they?
I think,
is it multiple?
I think because I refreshed. No,
Is yours just like screwed up?
Yeah, I don't know. Something's weird. That might be a bug. Anyways,
yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, we'll keep an eye on it. I mean, we'll see. If he has gain on long range scopes, and this seems like a great idea. Oh my god! Someone did the thing.
It's the closing one eye thing.
Yeah. God, I should just
give people the choice to close the eye.
All right, I gotta. Stuff like this just makes me so nihilistic. I can't look at it because I'm already just like thinking of the thousands of things. It's like, it's like, why haven't they done this?
I'm gonna bind it to Control Alt E tilde to close one eye while I'm using a sniper rifle. Where's it gonna go on the keyboard, Church? I don't have space for that.
It's going on the butt paddle. You got heard of foot paddles? Welcome to butt paddles.
Doesn't bounce in your seat to close one eye in Tarkov. What the hell? Oh yeah, you need another one for close right eye if you're in left-handed lean. Otherwise
paddles.
Otherwise it'll just be the periphery and the scope will be black.
You closed the wrong eye. That magic.
That'd be classic, wouldn't it? We brought in the closing of one eye. You'd go left lean, and you're just like, I can't see through the scope now.
That would be so hilarious. That would be so good.
You just close both of them and pray. You got like 500 FPS because nothing's rendering. It's just sound.
It's like,
just let me listen. Just let me listen for a minute. Just.
There's so many good memes, like the PMC that's terrified in the corner. It's like, he just like smashes his keyboard, closes both eyes, starts shooting at nothing, and you got like the Pastilli John Wick. He's just like eyes closed, running through factory, boom boom, headshotting everyone.
It's like friendly guys, level 0 to level 15 with no sights. Both eyes closed. Challenge account.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, that did make me laugh. Okay. All right. Well, maybe it's good. Maybe it's bad. Maybe it's cursed. I don't know. We'll see. It's been blessed by Nikita though. So there you go. Cool. Right. Any other news or anything? I think that's it for news and stuff as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. Yeah. All right, it's time for the return of Me More Meta.
Yeah, I saw you were doing HK 416 stuff, and I watched a little bit of the VOD just to see what you were doing build wise. You had some pretty interesting stuff. Man, every wipe I get a hold of one of these and like early wave, and I want to use it. And it used to be so bad. I can't remember which wipe it was, but this was back before the recoil rework. And I managed to get the recoil down like 78, or maybe it was closer to like 97. I don't know. It was like, it had like a suppressor on it, but it was like a rogue HK. I was like, oh yeah, I'll use this. And I couldn't hit anything. Like, you had to put the thing on single. Like, the recoil is just insane. Whereas now it's a lot more reasonable. Yeah. But it's just kind of weird how the HK went from like the Chad weapon, it was like Labs main, HK just had like the longest barrel, the longest suppressor, red dot, Mo.
60 round mag.
Yeah, it's just like that was the Chad weapon. Laser always on, you know. Whereas nowadays it's like I feel like I never see anyone using them. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like it just seems so rare, and it's like I don't even know what kind of builds you can do now because it feels like the parts too just don't do a whole lot on the like higher end. Like when you really
Yeah.
metafy it.
I think the problem with the HK, it's kind of got like a couple of interlinking problems. It's got like a progression problem where it used to be end game in the way that the old armor system worked and stuff like that, and the way that ammo used to be accessible. So you just like put M95 in this thing and just shred everybody
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the wipe. But because now you can't really get M95 in that way, and the only thing you can do is craft like 5501, it doesn't hit as hard. And also, then the recoil doesn't matter as much now because the recoil system actually is sensible. Because HK was one of those other guns that could get like kind of low. But the problem now is that like 506 is sort of an intermediary step, and the final rungs is mainly 762 by 39 at least, and usually 76251, right? And so by the time you get access to the stuff that makes the HK good, you're already using the MDR or the Scar or whatever, right? One of those guns that slugs the big bullets that you can then go and craft. Like you can't craft M995, but you can craft M61, which is just like mind blown, right? It's just doesn't
Oh my
make
god,
any
I
sense.
forgot about that. I can't believe they still haven't patched that. Anyways.
Yeah. So like it's just like super out of the meta for that reason. Like the accessibility, the ammo is just not there. The relative like calibers are just like better in general. And I think you do see a lot of M4s, but because of the way recoil's gone and the modability of the M4 platform, you can just get more out of the M4. And the 50 extra TTK, like the 50 extra fire rate, because it goes
Mm-hmm.
from 800 to 850 for the HK, which is fast, right? That's it's pretty fast. It's a bit of
Yeah.
a bullet hose. I used it in Arena just to like get some practical experience with it, which is like Arena's quite good for that, right? And it was quick. Like I play a lot with the M4 in Arena.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably my most played with gun, and it's a little harder to use. I would say a little harder to use. I could probably get used to it. I played a lot with the M4, not at all with the HK. So it's one of those things of if I practice more, maybe it'd end up feeling similar. And a lot of people were saying like, oh yeah, I love it in Arena, but like I never use it in the base game. It's just because it's just not worth it for the price or whatever. Like the kit is free in Arena, so you can use what you like, right?
Mm.
You're min maxing within the bars
Right.
to get the best that you can, and so you can pick stuff like the value proposition is just different in Arena than it is in the base game. So that's kind of the issue. And then like the limited modding on it versus the M4, it's like, well, am I going to really take like 50 RPM over better recoil, which is that's like get aroundable, but like way better ergo. Like the M4 has
Yeah.
like insane ergo. Because when I was like looking through the builds, and I'm putting together a video about it at the moment, there's 5 barrels for the HK. One of them is basically unusable. The shortest one is unusable because you can't put any suppressors on. It's not compatible with any suppressors when you use any of the handguards. It's like,
Which
okay, well that's out then.
that was so weird too because you can't even use muzzle devices that have like a hider attachment on it, like the
Yeah,
CMDR, I think it's called, or
yeah.
CDMR.
There's like the CRD, the concussion reduction thing. That one
Yes.
you're not allowed to use that either. So like anything that's got any brake that's got any further attachments on it, all of them are banned. They just don't work on it, which is like pretty lame. So yeah, you can use the shortest, the second shortest, which is fine, or the default, or the slightly longer one. But they're all kind of the same because I think the recoil when I was looking through them, I think it goes from like the longest barrel is like -5. The next one is -4. The next is -3. The next is -2. The next is -1. Like it doesn't matter that much, and there's quite a
Mm-hmm.
big ergo difference between them. And but it doesn't matter enough. And there's only one hand guard. Sorry, there's only 2 hand guards to give you any recoil benefit, and that only works for the longest barrel.
Yeah.
So it's basically like if you're not using the longest barrel, you're not going to get any recoil benefit from the hand guards. There's no different gas box you can use. So there's no recoil benefit there. There's no different uppers you can use. There's no recoil benefits there. The barrels hardly make a difference. It's like 1, 2, or 3 recoils, so that hardly matters. It's basically the HK is like, are you using the long barrel or not?
Yes.
And put the best suppressor and stock on you can. That's kind of it.
Yeah, no, you're exactly
That's
right.
kind of it. And so compared that to the M4, when you can just go like AX15 upper, and then you've got like an SAI handguard, then you've got the gas block that gives you the extra bit, and like it's just like there's loads of extra stuff that you can put on the M4. And they all add up. It makes
little
and the bad release thing,
yeah.
which I still need to look at that properly. I haven't looked at that yet because I got distracted doing the HK stuff this week. But I need to look at the bad release lever for like the extra. Yeah, but I just feel like the M4 is just more generalistic. It's probably cheaper. You probably can get access to a decent M4 earlier. If I was the same ammo, do you really need 850? Are you actually just wasting bullets? Like, is 800 fast enough?
Yeah, because I mean,
it's
50 more. That's like 7%. I mean, 8%.
Like, it doesn't matter that much.
It's such a little compared to how much percentage you're losing on either ergo or recoil. Depending on which way you go.
Yeah, because I was thinking like, oh, it's a bit like it's sort of like as SMG as you can get within the assault rifles, kind of, but it fires like 5.6A1, and I was like, well, that's good because that's 5.6A1 is like probably better than FMJ SX, but everybody loves SMJ SX for the MP7. Like, well, it doesn't really add up then. And I was like, well, the thing is, you don't need to mod the MP7. It's like, the gun just exists. Well, it doesn't cost you 300k to build it.
Yeah.
But it is more generalistic, so I get it. But yeah, you also have to take some ergonomic downsides to get the recoil to that point as well. So it's like you don't have to take these compromises with the M4, and so I think it's just kind of been left in the dust a little bit because of that. But like it was fine. Like, it's usable, right? It's certainly usable. And, I got some good kills with it. It was all right in arena. I eventually kind of got used to it, and it was kind of good. But I think M4 is just kind of like better.
Yeah,
but it's certainly usable. It's not terrible.
I think it's it's definitely not meta. It's definitely a bit of a meme because it feels like you're using something that's suboptimal because that's how it feels like to me.
Yeah. I tried using not the shortest, but like the second shortest barrel.
That's the one I like.
In like a fully tan, like we went for like full on aesthetics, like vibes based approach to Tarkov, and that was actually kind of cool. Like, it was just kind of fun. It's quite short. Like, it's just interesting. It's just interesting to use.
Yeah.
Like tan MOE, you got tan 40 rounder on it, RC2 suppressor, like tan 4 grip. It was just cool. I just kind of liked doing that. Like the regular barrel is fine, to be honest, but I know these shorty builds are okay. The thing that struck me is that you're basically getting 70 recoil, no matter what you do, unless you put on the long barrel stuff, and then you get into the mid 50s. It's kind of like it jumps because of the handguard and the barrel at the same time, so you get minus 5 or 6% roughly just doing that because of the handguard. So it's like, well, you either choose to spend like a fortune on it and have like a bit lower ergo. It's not actually too bad because you can get away. You don't necessarily have to have overswing on it and stuff like that, so it's fine. But it does get pricey. It does get pricey. What's this build? This one's like a voodoo. It's like not min recoil, but it's like meta kind of recoil. Yeah. So if you're gonna buy that just straight up, I mean that's with the voodoo, but that's like 350k for the full build. Without this optic, it's like 290. That's it's punchy. It's punchy. It's a lot. But again, who cares about money, right? Who cares about money?
I think the one long build that I like is put the 100 round extendo clip mag in it. The stay mag one. You get three blue lasers on each of the handguards. The rail. I forget. Is it the tracks? Is that what it's called? Is that the one that's?
It's called the crux. There's the longest one is called the crux. Yeah,
that's the recoil
416
arm, right?
Strike Industries Crux 15-inch M-Log. That's the good recoil one.
Yeah, you put
with the most ergo. There was one other one which is the MRS key mod that also gives you some recoil reduction.
But not as good ergo, I think, or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, that one was like 6 ergo, but the Crux is 11. Yeah, and you can put 3 cantilevers on the Crux. So it's 11 plus another 3.
Wow. Yeah, that one's more the ergo
14.
one. But
which is pretty cool.
with the crux, you can get the triple laser combo, 100 round mag, RK2 on there. You just don't even ADS. I call it the fire hose. You just go into factory, spray them down.
Yeah, I made like the min recoil one. I think
Mm,
this is the issue partly, is that the min recoil one is 54 recoil.
it's pretty good.
And the meta one that I have is like 57.
Oh. Not
So
so
it's
good.
like, why bother? Why
Yeah.
bother? I was looking at I made a min recoil. Actually, I mean, I never normally make them, but I wanted to actually compare them. I made a min recoil M4, like actually built one and paid for it. It was like 400k or something stupid, but it's that's like 45 vertical recoil on the M4.
Yeah.
And it's still, you know what, amazingly, it still has 33 ergo.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I just tried to like butcher it as much as possible. I was like, oh, okay, impressive. One thing that I learned, which I didn't know until I was like fiddling around with this stuff, it makes sense, but I just hadn't seen it previously, was, you know, the minimum recoil stock, the PRS Gen 3.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Yeah, the classic one. This one is the most recoil reducing stock, but there's two. There's that one, and then there's the other one, which is called the precision stock. Now, they're both minus 24% recoil. Nobody uses them because the ergo is only like +3 or something. Whereas with a combo of, even the MOE combo is, the MOE itself is 8, and then the butt pad is another 2. So it's like 1 versus 10, or like 3 versus 10. So it's like a lot of ergo. But yeah, the funny thing about the precision stock and the PRS Gen 3 is that although the precision stock is like +1 ergo and the PRS Gen 3 is +3 ergo, the PRS Gen 3 is like 0.8 of a kilogram. It's like nearly a kilo. The stock is absurdly heavy. It's insane. And the precision stock is like 0.16 of a kilogram. It's like 25, it's like a quarter of the weight. Like nothing. And when I was going through Tarkov, DB for Tarkov, which is like that gun building website that I use sometimes. And that concept of like Evo ergo, where it takes into account like the ergo and the weight at the same time, which is what really affects like overswing and ADS speed and stuff, actually means that the precision stock ends up being better than the PRS Gen 3 because of the weight differential, which I hadn't appreciated.
Is that true in like universally?
Pretty much, yeah, because it was tested
Wow.
extensively in my Discord. There's this guy, Space Monkey, who was like testing loads of stuff, and he was like creating charts and like putting like patterns through them or whatever, and ended up creating this like formula for it on Desmos. And there was basically this, it wasn't necessarily perfect to like the absolute like 1 point, but it was close enough that you could then, and the thing is, the overswing thing was like, it was all about overswing really, this calculation. But yeah, it ends up being to do with ADS speed as well. It's like the same deal, and it's pretty much bang on. Like overswing it comes in as well. It isn't just like binary on off. It's quite binary, but you can see it appear as you like add some little bits. It's got probably, I don't know, a 5 or 10 ergo kind of range on it, and when it goes from being nothing to being really bad. But yeah, it was interesting. I was like fascinated. I was like, oh man, that's crazy actually that the weight makes so much difference. And then yeah, I mean obviously then the gun is like a lot lighter, ADS is faster, and it is actually better. It is actually better despite having like 2 less ergo, which is nuts. The same is true, by the way, for the AFG M-locks, because they're so light. You know, the tiny little angle grips. They're basically the same as the SE5. Once you've added on the 4.1-inch rail, and then the SE5 afterwards, which is kind of heavy, they're like almost identical in performance to the SE5 at a fraction of the price. They're only what is it? Like 40 grams, I think. Yeah, they weigh like nothing. So the combination ends up like working out, which is kind of wild. So that's something that I've been doing for a while. But
I kind of
it's
hate
interesting.
how that affects, because it's like not intuitive to the player.
In no way. You have to go and like, the only other way to do it is just to brute force it, build it, test it, measure the ADS speed and stuff, which is like hard to do anyway. Because like, how do you decide when the reticle is like settled in the middle? Because it's like a smooth, it's like an ease in.
Yeah.
So like, how do you decide when it's settled? It's like you have to do them like frame by frame and like compare them. It's a nightmare, right? Which is why Space Monkey and like a bunch of other guys decided to look into this in the first place, because it was annoying and they were like, I'm sure this matters more. Like, what's the actual relationship? And the relationship is like non-linear as well, which just makes it even worse. It's like at low ergo, I can't remember which way around it is now. Basically, I feel like the line goes like this. It's like if you want to stay without overswing, you have to be under the line. I'm gonna have to find it now. This is gonna drive me crazy otherwise. Let me find it. I think I just have it like to hand. I can actually just send it to you. I don't know if I'll put it up. Oh no, I've not got this open. Wait, let me put it in the. Let me just put it in the document.
Okay, we looked at it before once. I
think so, ages ago.
Yeah.
The actual chart. Yeah. So like the slope of the chart is such that the weight is the most important thing. So as you move up and down on the chart, you're increasing and decreasing the weight. So for a given point in ergonomics, it's most sensitive to the weight.
Wait, what's over here? Let's go negative.
Negative. That's technically negative ergo, technically, but that doesn't actually happen in the game. So you want to start focusing around between 0 and 100 because everything outside of that is like out of bounds for the game. But yeah, I mean, like weight is the most important thing, but ergo does also matter. So if you're at the 100 ergo point, you can go up to like quite a high weight, right? And if you're at a very low ergo point, you can't have much weight without it going and doing like overswinging. But the line itself is also it's not straight, right? Because of the way that the relationship works, which means that when you are, let me think about this. For a given weight, ergo is more effective when the weight is higher. I think it's the way that this works, because the slope of the line is steeper the further to the right on the chart you go. Like it's crazy. So to expect anybody to understand this intuitively, I mean, I don't think anybody does, right? Like it was a system that was put in place, and it's like nightmarishly annoying to figure out, to the point at which, until we were using this, and I say we as in like, me and my Discord broadly, like on my gun builds, a lot of it was just like, especially around ADS speed and like overswing and stuff, it's just like done on feel. Even I didn't focus on overswing too much for a long time, just because it was unclear as to where the thresholds were. Like it affected some guns more than others. Like M1As with 50 rounders. Oh, this gun just like swings like crazy. Like, can you optimize it to not do that? But it was not clear that there was a relationship overall that determined it, and it turns out they're actually, well, this is it. So this calculation is built into DB for Tarkov /gun, that website, and it says overswing yes or no on the build, and you can see the adjusted ergonomics on there as well. So as you add parts, like the adjusted ergo like moves up and down, and you can filter stuff by adjusted ergo as well, which is like how you see stuff like this. You say like, oh, show me the combo with the best one, and it was like, oh, the precision stock, and I was like, wait, not the PRS Gen 3, this is weird. And then it's like, no, because the ergo is like too different, but the weight makes up for it because it's nearly a kilogram. So it's surprising. I mean, surprising. Anyway, that's a very long tangent.
Yeah.
What were we even talking about? Oh, the HK.
Yeah, I would like it if, like, I'm fine if you want to have this in, but like just put like a little bar in the UI for when I'm modding the weapon, so I can see the stuff represented on the pre-existing stat screen. Like I just don't like when things are obtuse like this. It's just not very.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Indeed. As per No Code's comment, there is some value in having to figure out a mystery in the game mechanics for people like Giga himself.
Yeah.
Indeed. I have benefited greatly from the opacity of this game's mechanics. For sure. So HK416, meme or meta? Meme or meta? Meme.
It's a meme.
I hate to say meme because it's still like usable, but yeah, it's basically a meme. Like you use it for vibes. You don't use it because it's good.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I guess kind of moving on. I just want to talk a little bit about the new AMD graphics cards, which I have not looked at AMD's products in a very long time. And like it's that like actually looking at their historical product stack is like very confusing and I hate it.
Mm. Yeah, I'll be very interested to hear what you have to say about this because I know like very little about. It's so funny. I'm so like my own system specific, or like X3D chips for Tarkov. Therefore, I know nothing about Intel CPUs. Or I'm a content creator who relies on NVENC. Therefore, I know nothing about AMD GPUs broadly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like interested to hear what you have to say.
Well, they seem pretty good. So they released the 9070 and the 9070 XT, and when I checked the other day, they were all sold out. So that's great. Love that. Thank you, hardware market. Maybe that's a different topic, but anyways, um, they actually seem very good. Like it's weird because the MSRP for the 9070 is like 550 USD, and then the
That's
90
really cheap.
yeah, the 9070 XT is 600. And I think
Okay.
that prices them right around like 5070 Ti with like greatly competing against um the 5070 Ti, but let me just pull up because it'll be easier for me to recall stuff as I'm visualizing it. Digital Foundry's video. Digital Foundry. But I was, because I'm kind of intrigued. I'm on 3070 still, which is fine for a lot of stuff.
Mm.
The usually the stuff that's like kind of a gotcha is VRAM
Yeah.
and performance occasionally. Like it's not like in some titles, depend on how like demanding it is graphically, or it's like uh, it's like I'm on a weird mid-range spec because I'm on 1440p, and
Mm.
it's like I want the game to look crisp and sharp, but I also want high frame rates. It's kind of hard to achieve both of that with this
Yeah.
particular setup. Like if I was on 1080p, it'd be much easier, right? Um, but anyways, and then upscaling can sometimes offset that. But like, man, DLAA, I've been using DLAA in like every title that I can recently. It's just like it's so good with the transformer too. It's so good. Like it just
I've
makes
not actually
every
been able to use it.
it looks like it basically takes a 1440p. I mean, this is highly exaggerating, but like for me, what it feels like is it turns it into 4K because it just looks that much more crisp. Like it is fairly subtle, but it's still just like the detail looks so good.
Mm.
Anyways, yeah. So looking at their stack, it was like, okay, a lot of people are kind of hyping it up, and I wasn't too sure because it's just like, is AMD gonna price it competitively? And then that's just like one conversation of when you talk about pricing because the market's crazy. But anyways, seems like it looks pretty good. I think I'm personally more interested in the 9070, the non XT variant. Um,
What is the difference between the two?
so they both have 16 gigs of VRAM, which I love. Awesome. Basically, the XT is just clocked a little faster and like draws a bit more power.
Hmm.
But what's like just really interesting is we skip ahead to some of these charts here. Like, so they got. Let me get a little better of a screen, or maybe we just play it through. What's this? Wukong. Let's go. We'll just play the section. Um, the like one the entry one's 550 and then the next one's up 600, but it's like the one for 550 is like the performance to wattage is like really good compared to the 9070 XT, which like you do get more performance, but it draws so much more power.
Mm.
And like in some titles in case, it's not that extreme.
Is that like this one here, where it's but nearly half again as much compared to like the 5070 Ti?
Yeah.
It's like 9070 XT, like 330 watts versus the 5070 Ti
Right.
at like 250 for the same frame rate, basically.
A little bit less actually in this case. I mean, there's it depends on the titles, but like some of them at traded blows. But I mean, for me, it's like because like what a 5070 Ti. I don't even know what the MSRP is. I would have to look it up. 5070.
Does it even matter these days?
It doesn't even matter. It really doesn't. I swear, the whole thing's a scam. Like, abolish AIB partners and mandate MSRP. I said it. Why is it so hard to find?
What's it actually supposed to be?
$750? $750. So in theory, you could buy a slightly more performant one that's also more efficient. But like the way I see it is like the 9070, the non-XT version gets you like 90% of the way there and is more power efficient, which like for some people will matter more or less. I just didn't see the point. Like when they're showing these specific cards here, these are factory overclocked from the Sapphire manufacturer, and it's like this thing's drawing like an extra you know let's say compared to the
it's like half again. It's like nearly half again. It's like freaking 40% more. It's like
and it's like you're from like this is the image on screen is like the AMD's like standardized. This is what they're going to be, and then the text at the bottom here showing what the manufacturer Sapphire was able to achieve, and so like they went from 304 watts to 317 watts, and they went from 2.97 gigahertz to 3 gigahertz, 3.01. So you pay, I mean, it's like the trade-off here is really bad in terms of like
40 megahertz. Like, well, hey.
Yeah, it's just like, yikes. So I personally am more intrigued than the non-XT version because it just seems more. And I do wish the price gap was a little like it would be such a slam dunk if it was like $500. But so yeah, performance, it seems pretty good, very competitive. Certain titles may or may not. Like it looks like it's almost handily beats the 5070, the 9070 does. But the thing is like, AMD drivers, et cetera, et cetera.
We'll see other stuff, with DLSS and everything.
Yeah, so FSR4. Sorry, I had a minor brain stroke. FSR4. It's, to me, the way I'm looking at it right now is like they were able to achieve what NVIDIA could prior to the transformer model.
Right.
So like it looks as good as the old stuff that did from NVIDIA.
Which is pretty good, honestly.
Which is yeah. And then the other thing is encoding / whatever. I saw a video from Epos Fox, I think it's his name. And he ran some tests, and actually the encoder is actually pretty good for H.264. Whereas like if you go back a previous generation, it was like you were actually losing stuff. Now it's like it's virtually the same as NVIDIA's offerings. There is some caveats, like it doesn't have the dual prioritization encoding, what have you. That like NVIDIA has, where if you're like single streaming, gaming and streaming, they have like some back end optimizations. You don't really get that, and the like the default encoding settings from NVIDIA or from AMD isn't like super optimized and for certain things. So, long story short, for your average user, it's now like good for streaming. Like it's on par at the bare minimum. I mean, you're missing some features, like, but nonetheless, um, like H.265, for example, isn't actually got worse for some reason this than the previous generation. Yeah, I know.
Oh.
Or was that AV1 encoding? I should just pull up the video at this point. I who knows? Yeah, here we go. Okay.
I think that only really like I don't know how much that matters at the moment.
Yeah, it is a very like
It's a niche thing, I would say. It's like
it could
you know,
matter
yeah, Twitch has
more
been
in the
testing with
future.
AV1 and stuff, yeah, for the future, but like, are they going to do it straight away? I don't know. And it only matters if you're like bandwidth limited, and you know, you can only send H.265 to YouTube, and like, it's just, but the YouTube doesn't have a bandwidth limit on it really, so it doesn't really matter. Like, you know, I stream in like 1440p on YouTube with a 25k bitrate, and it's fine in H.264. Like, it doesn't matter. It's only if you want to compress the files down, but and send more per bit. But it's just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the weird thing too was that in static scenes, the newest they're called Navi 4, but we'll just say the 9070 was actually worse than the previous generations, but you know, it was just some weird stuff. But yeah, there's like some
Oh dear.
minor things like oh no, it looks like the let's see H yeah no, it looks like the 265 is fine. So I think it must have been the AV1. Yeah, the AV1 was like slightly underperforming. It seems like from what I can vaguely recall, but it is kind of nice to know that you know if you were streaming, you're not really losing a whole lot as you were before. Like you're losing very small things. Like for example, psychovisual tuning. I can't remember what that does exactly. I think it has to do with I don't know. I won't pretend that I can remember, but like you just don't have that capability through like OBS software. Like
Right.
and it's like a hybrid where like OBS has to do something and like AMD has to do
I'm
something.
not sure if I even use that, to be honest.
No, it's like one of those things.
Even on Nvidia. Oh no, I do use it actually. I do use
Oh
it.
really? Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
What does it do again? Because I already forgot. I have to watch this video again. Maybe I'll send it to
I've
you.
forgotten as well now because I mean I set this up ages
Is
ago.
this
Now I
it?
can't even remember what it did. I think it was better for high movement or something.
I can't remember. The stuff is just like you know, it's like
it's kind of black magic wizardry as well. It depends on your
yeah.
use case. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But anyways, so I don't know. I mean, yeah, like I said, they all sold out, and I just got the market. I just hate the market so much. I mean, we were just talking about with my father the other day, and it's just like, yeah, it's. I mean, it's crap, and it feels to me like everyone's in on it. You know, like the board or the AIB partners, the people that make the graphics cards that are non-reference models. I mean, it's just like then scalpers are on. It's just I just don't understand how out of all the luxury, like you think about like luxury cameras, like you know, and it's like you don't have scalpers and you don't have like you know Sony licensing out to all these different sub companies to then make their own you know model of a thing and then you know it's just like and then you have like this uh stock issue like it just I'm personally you know conspiratorial I'm convinced it is a during COVID and everything that happened and some shortage related pre-COVID people are like whoa hang on a minute we can make a lot of money this way and I feel like things have just not properly it's like it's like we the consumers just kind of like accepted. It's like I want graphics cards now, and like I am actually willing to pay this. And they're like, oh, okay, great. Are you willing to pay this also? It's just like
Yeah, I think there is something to do with that, but then like there's the added overlay of like you can't mine crypto on a Sony camera. Like you can't
that's
like run an
true.
AI model on a Sony camera, right? This is part of the problem. We're now sharing the industry with like a bunch of other stuff that is like either hot or like profitable in one way or another, and so it like kind of crunches everything. I feel like that's definitely got a lot to do with it. It's like, do you want to be selling like even just like you're a chip fab? It's like, do you want to be selling like GPUs to like punters who want to play Call of Duty on PC, or like whatever they want to play, whatever latest the ray tracing game is? Or do you want to be making like high performance like AI chips to sell to Microsoft in like batches of 10,000? I think
Yeah,
this is the thing, right? The price
that's a
has
good
to be
point.
so high. Like it's expensive to make like PCB stuff these days, just in general. It's like it's an insanely complicated business. So I think a lot of it is to do with that, like the crunch of the other, like the people who are doing this, the making GPUs for us, are the same people who are making all this other crap, and they've got to like, it's like an opportunity costing. If they start to make GPUs, it's like you got to make a new fab for it, or whatever. It's like it's hard. So I think that's definitely part of it. I'm sure there's probably some opportunistic pricing going on, definitely, given that people will just pay it. Like who cares? Like you don't have any choice, right? Especially when it comes to
Yeah,
Nvidia. Like AMD are trying, but they're doing the best. But Nvidia kind of has like stranglehold. Like I think when I looked at the last Steam survey, it was like 80% of gamers are using Nvidia GPUs.
yeah,
They just own the market. Everybody knows it. They got the best tech broadly. So you only go for, yeah. It feels like you have to be kind of a sort of a, what would you even call it? Like I'm struggling to think of the word. Like an early adopter kind of, like enthusiast person to be going for AMD, because it's like, oh, you got a specific use case and you can get like best bang for buck because you don't need this feature or you don't need that feature or whatever. But like your average person just like see Nvidia, click Nvidia, like buy GPU, play video game.
yeah,
Um, Sort of how it feels right now, because it's probably going to work better. It's probably going to be easier. It's probably going to be better supported. DLSS
yeah.
is
That's the other
probably going to be better
thing.
than FSR. It's just like it's going to have better ray tracing, probably. Like it's probably going to perform relatively well. Like you just know what you're going to
FSR
get.
FSR 4 is like so new, like it's in like 3 titles. And like
Yeah.
more developers are gonna have DLSS support natively, right? So unless they can do, I think you could do like FSR 2 at the driver level, but like that's FSR 2. Like it's like the most basic static algorithm applied to a scene.
Mm.
It's not gonna
I,
do
I
it.
do think though. I do think though that with the I don't follow the tech hardware scene like
Mm-hmm.
in and day out, but obviously I see enough stuff just through osmosis, and like the osmosis that has reached me is that like the 50 series is kind of a like limp forward rather than a leap.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, there's some new tech, but the actual like grunt power is kind of the same as the previous generations. And even the 40 series gets accused of that as well in some ways, right? Like you look back at like the high end 20 series cards, and it's like, are the new cards that much better in terms of like raw grunt now, especially the lower
mm-hmm.
models within those series? It's like not really. It's more about technologies like
DLSS
fake
4,
frames and DLSS 4 and
frame gen, and yeah.
yeah, frame gen and all this kind of stuff. And it's like they're sort of feel like they're sort of running out of road a little bit. Like people are now becoming a bit more skeptical about it, and I think in some ways there's an opportunity for AMD potentially to catch up if Nvidia's focusing on AI chips and stuff, which they probably are in terms of design.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. We'll see. We'll see. It feels like there's just not been as much progression on like just pure performance over the last couple of years with GPUs. Whether
Yeah.
that's whether that's like Nvidia monetize, like, because they I don't know. You could almost argue that they're like, well, we're okay to fall behind a bit. We're just going to monetize our lead now while we can, and just like milk it for all we can.
Mm.
And then when we're forced to compete again properly, then okay, we'll start putting more resources into it. But for the time being, we'll just kind of put the new techs into sort of similar-ish hardware. It's easier for us to design. It's easier for the fabs to make.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about the industry, but especially
Yeah.
when you become so. I can't remember how much of Nvidia's business is like gaming chips now. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that big.
No, not No, they've definitely been focusing on AI. Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see what Nvidia does for the next generation, but I mean, that's at least another 2 years out, right? So, but yeah, I mean, it actually might be like another year or two before I upgrade GPUs because it's just the market's just like it's so hard justifying spending, you know, above like $500, $600 for like 20% improvement. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
man. And then it's like now I gotta sell the old card, and it's like, it's just who wants to buy
Yeah.
this? Oh, I'll buy it for $100. Okay, fuck me, I guess. It just sucks. Ow.
Yeah, because a lot of these latest ones just aren't really losing their value that much for the ones that are like decent. It's like it's either good or it isn't, and then it sort of falls off very quickly. I think. I don't know how much did you get for a 3070 now?
A used one? I mean, you could probably
Yeah.
get, I don't know, $300, $400. I would hope to God with the way the market is, but it's just finding the person who's willing to pay that and not like constantly lowball you. Because it's the other thing, you'll get so many like lowball offers. It's annoying because everyone's
That's true.
looking to snag a deal or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm
Well, we'll
curious.
see.
I'll have to look at it.
Now I just remember like the main thing that I saw popping up around the 50, was it the 5090 where people's like power cables were melting? That's the one thing that I
Yeah,
saw.
yeah.
I remember that popping up because it was like not the connector wasn't I don't know high enough quality or something, and people's the like 12-pin PCIe connector was like melting in people's GPUs. Just like whoa.
Yeah, I did remember falling out a bit, but I can't remember the details of it. It was
See, I wonder how much
there was
I
like
wonder how
an
much 4070 Ti
actual.
Supers are now.
I think they're still kind of hovering at that like $700, $600 range.
Because that's what I ended up getting just for the VRAM to fix the VRAM problem.
Yeah.
And because I had a use for my 30 series, right? That's the thing. That was like that's the value for me, is that I had somewhere to put the 3070 without having to try and punt it on eBay.
Ooh, I could get a MSI air blower style. You know, the ones that like whoosh air out the back vents, jet engine turbine. 47 Ti Super for $760.
Yeah, there's still quite a lot.
Yay me.
There's still quite a lot.
I could buy last year's generation in a blower style card. What was the MSRP? 47 Ti Super. Starting at $799. I can buy it for $40 cheaper. Yay me. 2 years
When did I
later.
get mine? I mean, when did I buy mine? Like a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, 9 months ago. I can't remember. Maybe a year ago actually. And I bought mine, and yeah, everything's more expensive here, of course, naturally. So I bought mine for the equivalent of like $870.
I'm sorry.
Because I was just like, oh yeah, it's the same price. It's just like, oh, but what do you mean it's the same? Yeah, well, it's like $700. It's gonna be £700. It's like, but the exchange rate. Who cares about the exchange rate? It's the same number. It's like, oh no, it's just like 20%, 25% uplift for basically no reason.
EU
Well, I say
tax.
no reason. Like it has to come on a ship. Okay.
That's
EU
crazy.
tax. EU tax. Whatever. I mean, I've been happy with it so far. I can't see myself upgrading anytime soon.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, to get like a material bump, you have to be spending like grand and a half, like 2K to get something like properly. It's gonna be a big difference.
But
It's
even
just
then,
like,
it's like, let's say you do that, like you get like a 4090 or whatever. It's just like, then it's like, well, now I have to upgrade to a 4K monitor, otherwise I'm leaving performance on the table. It's just like it just never hits.
No. Yeah.
Well,
There you go. Not that it matters in Tarkov anyway.
Huh?
Not that it matters in Tarkov anyway, because you need a 9800
Right.
X3D to make Tarkov to work.
If only I could shove a 4070 on my sticker container and extract.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I know. At one point, I was like, should I think seriously about upgrading to, the 90, like the AM5, like 9800 XVD, and get the new RAM and all this stuff? And I'm just like, man,
Oh
like
yeah, so
it's a lot. Like it's like
expensive.
I don't need the GPU because I've got that already. But like,
Right.
even still, it's probably another, 700 pounds or something. I'm just like, man, do I really care that much to take my Streets FPS from like 70
Right.
to like 150? Do I actually care that much? Like,
Yes, the answer is yes. uh, you need to save, bide yourself over till Tarkov 2.0. Then
yeah, on Unreal 5. Coming full circle. We're coming full circle. Tarkov 2 on Unreal 5 in a big tie-up with Epic Games.
uh-huh.
It's all going to be on the Epic Games launcher.
And
We're
then
going
the
to have a lovely
Fortnite
time.
tie-in. Killa and Sanitar are coming to Fortnite.
Yep.
Killa's at Burger Town in Fortnite. Who's going to get his tracksuit? You guys, we need your help to find the legendary magical 3-digit code on the back of your mom's credit card to save Killa.
The most cursed like corporate crossover ever.
You ever seen those memes where it's just like, I don't know, it's like some guy on YouTube who people just like pay him to like read something. Like he's like a doctor or whatever. But he'll be like, I have to send you one. He's like,
okay, I haven't
John
seen
Wick needs your help in Fortnite to find your mom's 3-digit magic codes on the back of her credit card. It's so funny. I'll send you.
You have to send it to me so I can see it.
Very good. All right.
Very good.
Let's wrap it up for today before things get any more out of hand. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.
Catch you later.